It was an ordinary day on Earth when the extraordinary happened. Humanity's first contact with an alien species was nothing like the stories people had imagined. No laser beams, no intergalactic warships, just a peaceful arrival. The skies above Earth, usually filled with nothing but clouds, suddenly grew crowded. Massive alien ships appeared without warning, gliding silently into Earth's orbit. The world froze, unsure of what to make of the spectacle. Governments scrambled, scientists were in a frenzy, and civilians looked up in awe and fear. The ships weren't warships. They weren't filled with invaders or conquerors. They were beautiful, smooth, glowing, and elegant. The beings inside were even more mesmerizing. They were humanoid, tall and graceful, with delicate features that seemed to glow in the light. Their skin shimmered like stardust, and their eyes, bright and deep, carried an ancient wisdom. They introduced themselves as the Ilithians, and they were not here to invade. They came to observe. The Ilithians sent a message in every language on Earth, showing their intent to communicate peacefully. A calm voice filled every screen around the world. We have traveled from the distant stars, not as conquerors, but as seekers. We have come to learn about the human race, which we have heard so much about. You, who live on a world of endless challenges, where survival is constant, are a marvel to us. At first, many on Earth were skeptical. Why would such advanced beings be interested in humans? Were they just studying us like lab animals? But the Ilithians were quick to reassure them. They explained that their species came from a world far away, a planet of peace and harmony. They had no wars, no struggles, no danger to survive. But in their perfect world, they had grown curious. They had heard of Earth, a death world, where life existed in the most extreme conditions. The Ilithians marveled at how humanity survived on a planet where danger lurked around every corner. Wild animals, harsh climates, diseases, and constant natural disasters. They all made Earth a death world, a place where life was precious because it was so fragile. We wish to learn from you, the Ilithians continued, to understand how you fight for survival, how you face each day with the knowledge that death is never far behind. We wish to see what makes your species unique. The idea that these beautiful, serene beings were fascinated by Earth's dangers was shocking. People all over the world began to talk about the Ilithians. Many were excited about the potential for learning and growth. Scientists wondered if the Ilithians could share their advanced knowledge. Others wondered if the aliens had hidden motives. Could they be studying us for something more? But there was one thing everyone could agree on. Earth had caught the attention of the universe, and humanity was now a part of something much bigger than they had ever imagined. For the Ilithians, Earth was more than just a place to study. It was a place of fascination, a living testament to the unpredictable and raw force of life. And for humanity, the arrival of these perfect, beautiful beings marked the beginning of a new chapter in their history. What would the Ilithians teach them? What would they learn from humans in return? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. Earth had just become the most interesting world in the galaxy. The Ilithians' arrival on Earth was nothing short of a spectacle. They were not just visitors, they were an attraction. Beautiful, graceful, and unlike anything humans had ever seen, they quickly became the talk of the world. The news was flooded with images of these stunning beings, their shimmering skin and ethereal beauty lighting up screens everywhere. Wherever they went, they captured the attention of humans, especially human men. There was something about them that seemed to pull people in. Their elegance, their otherworldly charm, it was impossible to ignore. The Ilithians weren't just observing anymore. They were here to stay. At first, they visited major cities, landing in places like New York, Paris, and Tokyo. They spoke to leaders and scientists, offering their help in ways humanity had never dreamed of. They brought technology that could heal diseases, provide clean energy, and reverse environmental damage. The world was in awe. Many believed the Ilithians could help Earth's problems, and they welcomed the aliens with open arms. But it wasn't just their gifts of technology that fascinated humans. It was the way they spoke about life. The Ilithians seemed fascinated by the simplest things about human existence. They marveled at how humans could survive such harsh conditions on Earth. From the dangerous creatures that roamed the jungles to the deadly storms that struck without warning, Earth's Deathworld was a constant test of survival. To the Ilithians, this was beautiful. In their own peaceful world, they had no struggle, no need to fight to survive. The idea of a species like humanity, constantly battling for life, was something they had never experienced. Soon, the Ilithians began to mingle more with the human population. They spent time with ordinary people, learning about their daily lives, their emotions, and their dreams. The alien beings were fascinated by everything: human joy, sorrow, love, and especially anger. Emotions were something the Ilithians had only read about, but never truly understood. They were drawn to humans in ways they hadn't anticipated. Human men were especially intriguing to the Ilithians. They were powerful, full of energy, and raw emotion. To the Ilithian women, these men were like a force of nature. They had something that no one in the Ilithian civilization could provide: passion, strength, and the kind of unpredictability that came with living in a world so dangerous. The men of Earth, with all their flaws, seemed to have an aura that the Ilithians found irresistible. It wasn't just physical strength, it was their determination to survive, to push through obstacles, to fight for what they believed in. Human women, on the other hand, began to feel threatened by the Ilithians. The alien women were beautiful in ways they couldn't compete with, and they had a way of drawing attention that humans found hard to match. The Ilithian women didn't just admire human men. They were deeply attracted to them. Soon, there were rumors of Ilithian women forming close relationships with human men, and some human women began to feel jealous and even angry. What were the Ilithians after? Was it just admiration, or was there something more? The Ilithians were caught between two worlds. They had come to Earth with one purpose: to study and learn. But the deeper they connected with humans, the more they felt something they hadn't expected: emotion. They found themselves drawn to Earth's inhabitants, particularly human men, in a way that no one could explain. Earth was no longer just a planet to them. It had become a place of intense fascination, a world filled with danger, beauty, and the very thing the Ilithians had long lost: the will to live. As the days passed, it became clear Earth had captured the Ilithians' hearts, and the humans, unwittingly, had become the center of a cosmic obsession. As the Ilithians settled more into Earth's daily life, the differences between their peaceful civilization and the raw energy of humanity began to show. At first, the humans embraced the Ilithians with open arms, fascinated by their beauty and their advanced technology. The Ilithians, in turn, seemed equally fascinated by the chaos of Earth, where survival was a constant battle. They marveled at how humanity could live through such extreme conditions: storms, diseases, and a constant struggle for resources. It was all so different from their serene, controlled way of life. But as the Ilithians spent more time on Earth, things started to get complicated. The Ilithians, who had never known war, violence, or any kind of conflict, couldn't understand the way humans fought over land, power, or even personal matters. To them, these things seemed senseless. The Ilithians had evolved in a world of peace, where everyone worked together and conflict was rare. Their society was built on harmony and emotions, while present were kept under control. They didn't fight to survive, because they didn't need to. Yet, when they observed humans, they saw something incredible: the fierce determination to survive, to protect loved ones, and to fight against the odds was something the Ilithians couldn't comprehend, but they couldn't deny its beauty. They watched as humans faced danger, not with fear, but with courage, anger, and passion. It was something so wild and untamed, it left the Ilithians in awe. They were fascinated by the emotions that powered human actions, especially the way human men reacted to challenges. The Ilithian women, who had never known such intensity, found themselves captivated by the men of Earth. Human men were unlike any beings they had encountered before. They were strong, brash, and often quick to anger. But it was this very unpredictability that drew the Ilithians in. There was something raw and powerful about their presence. They had a spark, something that couldn't be found in the calm, ordered lives of the Ilithians. As the Ilithian women grew closer to human men, tensions began to rise. The human women, who had always been the center of attention on Earth, found themselves facing competition unlike anything they had ever experienced. The Ilithians were beautiful in ways that no human could compete with, perfect, flawless, and seemingly from another world. It wasn't just about looks, though. The Ilithian women were gentle, nurturing, and most of all, they offered the promise of peace. In comparison, the human women who had fought so hard for their place in a harsh world felt threatened by the Ilithians' allure. This tension grew as more human men began to form relationships with the Ilithians. The men, already drawn to the alien women's beauty, began to fall under their spell. The Ilithians offered something no human woman could, an escape from the harshness of Earth's reality. They offered peace, a life without struggle, and a gentle touch that was so foreign to the constant turmoil of Earth. To the Ilithian women, human men were a challenge, a wild, untamed force they could not control, and that made them all the more irresistible. As human men and Ilithian women grew closer, conflicts began to rise within human society. Women were jealous, and men were caught between two worlds. Some saw the Ilithians as perfect partners, while others felt an instinctual push to protect their own kind. The Ilithians, however, were not entirely aware of the damage they were causing. They only saw the beauty of human emotion, the love, the anger, the passion, and they were drawn to it. The Ilithians had come to Earth to learn about humanity's survival instinct, but what they had discovered was far more complicated. It wasn't just about survival. It was about emotions, about fighting for what one wanted, and about the connections that formed in a world filled with chaos. They had expected to study humans, but now they were deeply immersed in a world of conflict, love, and rivalry. Earth's beauty was not just in its dangers. It was in the way humans lived and loved. And the Ilithians, for the first time in their lives, were starting to feel a part of it. As the Ilithians grew closer to humanity, the excitement that had once filled Earth began to shift. What started as a peaceful encounter, filled with curiosity and admiration, soon became a matter of deep concern. Some humans were thrilled by the Ilithians' presence. Their gifts of technology, knowledge, and healing had improved countless lives. Disease was cured, resources were provided, and humanity's struggles seemed to lessen. It felt like a dream come true, a peaceful alliance with beings from another world. But not everyone shared that excitement. Some humans, particularly leaders and military figures, grew wary of the Ilithians' growing influence on Earth. While the Ilithians were kind and peaceful, they were also powerful and beautiful, something the human population could not ignore. The Ilithians' allure, especially their attention toward human men, was causing tension. Women began to feel threatened, and men began to act differently around the alien visitors. Governments around the world, especially those with powerful military forces, began to question the Ilithians' true intentions. They had brought nothing but peace so far, yet there was something unsettling about how quickly humanity was falling under their spell. Was it just a fascination with Earth's raw beauty, or was there something more? Why had the Ilithians taken such a deep interest in human emotions, survival, and relationships? In secret meetings, leaders began to voice their concerns. Some feared that the Ilithians, while not hostile now, might one day take control, subtly guiding humanity in a direction that benefited them. It wasn't just the technology they had offered. It was their influence over human behavior, especially the growing bond between the Ilithian women and human men. What did they want from Earth? Did they seek more than just knowledge and admiration? There were even rumors of some high-ranking officials who had been seduced by the Ilithians, pulling strings to gain their favor. As more and more people grew curious about the Ilithians' motives, a movement of resistance began to form. Some humans feared the Ilithians' intentions, believing that their peaceful ways were a guise for something darker. They didn't trust that such beauty and power had no hidden agenda. The more the Ilithians integrated into human society, the more they seemed to complicate things. They had never known war, and their way of thinking was radically different from humanity's. They saw conflict as something unnecessary, a waste of energy. Yet on Earth, where violence and strife were a part of life, their ideas were often seen as naive or unrealistic. They believed in peace, but humans knew the cost of that peace was often high, especially on a world like Earth. As distrust grew, certain human factions began taking action. The military began working on new strategies, including advanced weapons and defenses, in case the Ilithians ever turned on them. Governments began pulling back from their alliances with the aliens, secretly preparing for the worst. Some tried to gather information on the Ilithians' true motives, questioning their behavior and searching for any signs of deception. The Ilithians, however, were completely unaware of the growing unease around them. They were focused on what they had come for, to learn from humanity. They were drawn to the raw, unfiltered emotions that humans experienced daily. While some Ilithians remained fascinated by human men, others began to form connections with humans in other ways, like friendships and partnerships. Yet even as they connected more deeply with the human race, the Ilithians' presence began to stir old fears. The beauty and charm that had once captivated Earth were now seen as a source of potential danger. Humans were torn between wanting to learn from the Ilithians and fearing what their future on Earth would truly mean. Would the Ilithians remain peaceful, or was humanity's time on Earth about to change forever? In the midst of all this, one question loomed larger than the rest. Could humanity trust the Ilithians, or were they just another force that would someday seek to control the very things that made Earth so unpredictable? As the tensions between the Ilithians and humans grew, something unexpected happened. The Ilithians, in an effort to prove their admiration for humanity's survival instinct, issued a challenge. They called it the Deathworld Challenge. It was a bold proposal, a series of trials that would test humanity's ability to survive in extreme environments, pushing the limits of human endurance and strength. The Ilithians, with all their technology and peace, had never faced anything like Earth's dangers. They were curious. Could humans survive in conditions so hostile that most other species would perish? The challenge wasn't meant to be a war, nor was it an attempt to test dominance. It was an invitation to prove that humanity was indeed special, that their survival on a death world was not a coincidence, but a testament to their strength and spirit. The Ilithians wanted to see humanity at its best, to understand how humans thrived where others would fail. Humanity, at first, was divided. Some saw the Deathworld Challenge as a great opportunity to show the Ilithians the true power of the human race. They knew that humans had faced impossible odds for millennia, surviving ice ages, wild animals, deadly diseases, and constant natural disasters. It was part of who they were. To face a series of trials where only the strongest could survive seemed like a challenge that was meant for humanity. Others, however, saw it as a dangerous game, a way for the Ilithians to manipulate humanity. They wondered why the Ilithians were so fascinated with human struggle. Was it just for entertainment, or was there something darker behind the challenge? Despite these fears, the majority of humans decided to participate, eager to prove their worth to the Ilithians and to the world. The trials were set in some of Earth's most hostile environments: the volcanic regions of Iceland, the frozen tundra of Siberia, the deepest oceans, and the dense jungles filled with dangerous creatures. Each environment tested a different aspect of human survival: endurance, intelligence, strength, and resourcefulness. The Ilithians, observing from a distance, provided only limited help, just enough to keep the humans alive, but not enough to make it easy. This was not about giving them an advantage. It was about seeing how they could adapt and thrive on their own. What the Ilithians didn't expect was the raw intensity of human determination. The trials pushed human contestants to their absolute limits, but they fought through every challenge. In the volcanic region, where temperatures soared, humans fought not just against the heat, but against their own fear. In the frozen tundra, they survived freezing cold and isolation, using only their wits and the skills passed down through generations. In the jungles, they faced predators with nothing but the tools they could find. But what the Ilithians found most fascinating was the spirit of cooperation and competition that emerged among humans. They were not just surviving. They were thriving in the most dangerous situations. Some groups worked together, relying on each other's strengths to overcome the impossible. Others fought against each other, driven by an intense need to prove their worth, to show the Ilithians that humanity could conquer anything. As the trials went on, something unexpected happened. The Ilithian women, who had initially been drawn to human men for their strength and resilience, began to form deeper connections. They were not just watching the humans anymore. They were actively involved, guiding and helping the men and women who impressed them the most. There were whispers among the Ilithians that the trials had begun to change them. They were no longer just observers. They had become emotionally invested in the human survival. For humanity, the trials were a test of more than just survival. They were a test of identity. Could they prove to the Ilithians that they were more than just a Deathworld? Could they show the aliens that the raw energy of life on Earth wasn't just something to study, but something to respect? The Ilithians had come to Earth to learn about the human spirit, and what they discovered was far more than they had expected. They had come to study survival, but what they found was the soul of humanity, a species that could rise above the greatest odds, fight for life, and never give up. And as the final trial approached, both the Ilithians and humans realized that something far deeper than admiration had been born. The Deathworld challenge was no longer just a test. It was the beginning of a new connection. After the trials of the Deathworld challenge, the relationship between the Ilithians and humanity had changed. The Ilithians had come to Earth with the intention of studying the human race, fascinated by their ability to survive on a harsh and dangerous planet. But what they found during the trials was far beyond what they had expected. The strength, determination, and passion of the human spirit had captivated them in ways they could not have imagined. The Ilithian women, in particular, had been drawn to human men like never before. It was more than just physical attraction. There was something deeper about humanity's drive to survive, to fight, and to endure, even when the odds seemed impossible. The way humans faced every challenge head-on, often without knowing if they would succeed, was something the Ilithians had never seen in their own world. On their peaceful planet, everything was predictable, controlled, and safe. But Earth, with all its dangers and uncertainties, was alive in a way the Ilithians couldn't fully understand, and it was that unpredictability that made humans so fascinating. The Ilithian women had spent time with human men during the challenge, and as the trials ended, they found themselves forming deeper emotional connections. It was a bond that went beyond admiration. It was something closer to love. The men of Earth had shown them strength, vulnerability, and passion, things that the Ilithians had never truly experienced in their own world. The human men were wild, untamed, and full of energy, a stark contrast to the calm, orderly lives the Ilithians were used to. The Ilithians admired that energy, and as they spent more time together, the lines between observer and participant began to blur. For the humans, the Ilithian women were no longer just mysterious visitors from another world. They had become something more. At first, many men had been drawn to the Ilithians' beauty, captivated by their otherworldly appearance and grace. But as the Ilithians showed more of their vulnerability, their curiosity about humanity, and their willingness to learn, many human men found themselves forming emotional bonds. The Ilithians weren't just beautiful. They were intelligent, compassionate, and willing to help humanity in ways no one could have imagined. As the bond deepened, humanity's leaders grew more concerned. What had started as a peaceful alliance now felt like something much more complex. The Ilithians were becoming deeply integrated into human society, especially in the most personal ways. The emotional connections between humans and Ilithians were undeniable, and some began to fear what would happen if the two races became too intertwined. What would Earth look like in the future? Would humans lose their identity, or would they be changed forever by their contact with the Ilithians? Some factions of humanity began to push back against the Ilithian presence. They felt that the Ilithians' influence over human emotions, especially through their relationships, was too strong. The Ilithians had come to Earth to learn, but many humans began to wonder if their presence was changing human culture in ways that might not be for the best. The Ilithians were teaching humans about peace and cooperation, but some feared that these values might weaken the strength and resilience that had made humanity so special in the first place. Meanwhile, the Ilithians themselves were facing a dilemma. They had come to Earth to learn about the human race, but they had become deeply involved in human emotions and relationships. They had fallen in love with Earth's unpredictability, and they couldn't help but feel attached to the humans they had come to care for. But was this attachment clouding their original mission? The Ilithians had never known conflict or war, but now they faced the challenge of balancing their feelings for humanity with the goal they had come to Earth for, to study and understand the human spirit. Despite the growing tensions, the connection between the Ilithians and humanity continued to grow. The Ilithian women, once distant and mysterious, had become part of human society. The human men, who had once been wary of their alien visitors, now found themselves in deep relationships with the Ilithians. And the people of Earth, though divided in their opinions, couldn't help but feel that the bond between the two races had changed the world forever. As Earth continued to change under the influence of the Ilithians, one thing was certain: humanity had entered a new era. Whether that era would be one of peace, conflict, or something entirely new was still uncertain. But whatever the future held, Earth had become a place where two vastly different species were learning to coexist, each teaching the other something invaluable about life, love, and survival. As the years passed, the relationship between the Ilithians and humans continued to evolve. The once clear lines between the two species had blurred, and Earth had become a new world, one where human strength and resilience mixed with the peace and wisdom of the Ilithians. Yet, with this new unity came challenges. The balance that had been struck was delicate, and many feared that the future of Earth was uncertain. Humanity had gained much from the Ilithians. Their advanced technology had helped solve many of Earth's greatest problems: cures for diseases, solutions for environmental destruction, and new ways to harness energy. Yet, as the Ilithians shared their knowledge, some humans began to worry that this help was coming at a cost. Earth was changing too quickly. The old ways of life, the very struggles that had made humanity who they were, seemed to be disappearing. Was this a gift or a loss? Some feared that by embracing the Ilithians' peaceful way of life, humans might lose the fire that had allowed them to survive on a Deathworld in the first place. Meanwhile, the Ilithians, who had come to study the human spirit, had been changed as well. They had come to Earth to observe, but they had not expected to fall so deeply into the human way of life. Their relationships with humans, especially the bonds formed with human men, had transformed them. The Ilithians had always lived in a world of harmony, where emotions were controlled and conflict was rare. But the raw passion, love, and strength of humanity had opened their eyes to something new. They had learned that life was not just about peace. It was about feeling, about struggling, and about surviving against all odds. The Ilithians were no longer just visitors. They had become a part of Earth's new reality. But not everyone was happy with the changes. Some humans began to resist the Ilithians' growing influence, worried that their world was slipping away. The human spirit was powerful, yes, but some argued that the Ilithians' way of life, so calm and orderly, would eventually overpower humanity's wild, untamed nature. There were those who feared that humanity was losing its edge, its hunger to survive in a dangerous world. Could humans, who had always fought to stay alive, continue to thrive in a world that seemed to be losing its harshness. For the Ilithians, the struggle was just as difficult. They had come to Earth to learn, but now they found themselves questioning their own culture. Had they been wrong to live in such controlled harmony? Had their peaceful existence stifled their true potential? In their time on Earth, they had witnessed humans fighting for survival in ways that the Ilithians had never imagined. Humans struggled with everything, from weather and disease to each other, yet they survived, and they thrived. The Ilithians had come to see this struggle as beautiful, but the question remained, would it be enough? As the two species continued to live side by side, a new generation of humans and Ilithians grew up knowing only this new way of life. These children, raised in a world where both races worked together, would not know the Earth that had once been. For them, the struggle would not be the same. The human spirit, tempered by Ilithian wisdom, would take on a new form. The fire of survival would burn differently, shaped by the calm of the Ilithians. And yet, despite all the challenges, there was hope. The bond between humans and Ilithians had grown stronger, and both species had come to understand each other in ways no one could have imagined. The Ilithians had learned the beauty of humanity's chaotic, unpredictable nature, and humanity had learned the value of peace, cooperation, and understanding. The future, while uncertain, held a promise, a future where both species would shake the world together, using their unique strengths to build something new and extraordinary. As the sun set over Earth, both species stood together, looking at the stars. They had come from different worlds, yet they had found common ground. The Deathworld had not defeated them. Instead, they had found a way to thrive. The future was not clear, but it was theirs to create, together.